I walked into that restaurant ready to forgive him, and I found my sister's mouth on my boyfriend's lips. For a second, the scene did not move. The low music, the quiet clink of glasses, the soft murmur of conversations, everything stayed frozen in my mind. Isabella's hand was on his chest. Ethan's hand was on her waist. His eyes were closed. Hers were half open. They were in our usual corner table at Gabriel's restaurant, the place Ethan managed but his father truly controlled. The same table where he once said he wanted a future with me. The same table where I had decided, today, to tell him I was willing to give him another chance after weeks of distance and lies. My high heels stopped on the polished floor. One of my bodyguards took one more step behind me, then froze too. Isabella pulled back first. Her lipstick was smudged. Ethan's eyes opened slowly, lazy, satisfied. Then he saw me. Sophia, he breathed. My name came out of his lips like a mistake he had just remembered. Isabella turned in her seat, and the shock in her expression came a second too late. If she had looked guilty from the start, maybe it would hurt less. Instead, she looked annoyed that she had been caught. The waiter who had been walking toward their table stopped. The couple at the nearest table put down their forks. The hostess near the entrance took one step back when she recognized me. Sophia Rossi, Mafia queen. The woman nobody wanted to cross. I felt the weight of every stare land on my spine. I straightened my shoulders. "Do not move," I said to my men without looking back. My voice came out steady. Calm. I did not raise it. I did not tremble. Years of control sat on my tongue like iron. I walked forward, one step at a time, the sound of my heels echoing in the sudden silence. The restaurant lights reflected on the glass walls, on the polished silver, on the wine bottles behind the bar. I saw my reflection as I approached them. Black hair down to my shoulders, straight, not a single strand out of place. Dark green dress that hugged my body, eyes that everyone in New York knew. Eyes that made people sign contracts or beg for mercy. Those same eyes were burning now, but I did not let the tears rise. Isabella finally stood up. "Sophia, wait." I lifted one hand slightly. "Sit." She froze and obeyed before she even seemed to realize it. She sat back down like a child who had been caught stealing. Ethan stood, pushing his chair back too fast. It scraped against the floor. "It's not what it looks like," he said. A quiet laugh tried to rise inside me. "I killed it." "Then tell me," I replied. "What does it look like to you?" I stopped at the edge of the table. I could smell Isabella's perfume. I could smell Ethan's cologne, the one I bought for him last Christmas. The memory stabbed me in the chest, but I kept my face still. "It just happened," Isabella rushed out. "We didn't mean for you to see it like this. You didn't mean for me to see it." That was the important part then. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "We were going to talk to you. I swear." I tilted my head slightly. "You were going to talk to me." "Yes," he insisted, stepping closer. "Things between us were already complicated. You're always busy, you're always dealing with business, and I felt alone, and so you chose my sister." I cut in. The word sister tasted bitter. Isabella's lower lip trembled. "I never wanted to hurt you, Sophia. You kissed my boyfriend in public, in a restaurant where everyone knows we come together," I answered. "You wanted something. Maybe not this, but something." Their eyes shifted away for a second. That was all I needed. Someone at another table whispered my name. Another person said Rossi very quietly. My men shifted behind me, alert, waiting for any sign that I might want to make this night bloody. I did not. I had more power than that. I did not need to shout or throw anything or create a scene. I could end them with one sentence if I wanted. Socially, financially, physically. But right now, I was not the queen. I was a woman whose heart had just been broken by two of the only people who should have protected it. "Look," Ethan tried again, lowering his voice. I care about you, I do, but I started feeling something for Isabella, and I didn't know how to handle it. We never meant to disrespect you. It just happened," I repeated softly. His mouth shut. I turned my eyes to Isabella. She looked smaller in that chair than she ever had. "How long?" She swallowed. "Sophia, please." "How long?" I asked again. "A few weeks," Ethan admitted quickly. "It wasn't serious at first. We just talked. And then we kissed once, and we were going to tell you when the time was right." I nodded slowly. "The time was right," I said. "When you decided to slide your tongue into my sister's mouth in public while I was on my way here to forgive you for lying to me." I watched the words land on them. Isabella flinched. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Sophia, don't do this here," Isabella whispered. "People are staring." I leaned closer, just enough so only they could hear. "People always stare at me," I said. "This is nothing new." He opened his mouth again. "We're sorry. We didn't mean to." "I am not interested in your apologies," I cut in, "or your explanations, or your excuses." My chest hurt. My hands wanted to shake. I kept them at my sides. "You had me," I said quietly. "You had every piece of me. You had my time, my trust, my loyalty. You had access to my world because I let you in. You didn't just cheat on a girlfriend, Ethan. You betrayed the Mafia queen. And you," I turned my eyes to Isabella, "betrayed your own blood." Isabella's eyes filled with tears. "I love him." "Of course she did." I straightened. "Then you can have him," I said. Their eyes widened at the same time. "It's over," I continued. "There is nothing to save, not between me and you." I looked at Ethan. "And not between me and you." I looked at Isabella. "You made your choice." "Sophia, don't say that," she whispered. "You're angry," Ethan said quickly. "You don't mean it. You're hurt. My voice turned colder. "I do not speak by accident," I said. "I am not like you." His mouth snapped shut again. I reached into my clutch, took out the small velvet box that had been waiting there. I had planned to give it to him tonight, a watch he had wanted for months. I placed it on the table between them and pushed it toward him. "Give this to him," I told Isabella. "You two like sharing things." Isabella's face crumpled. "Sophia, please," she begged. "We can fix this. We can talk at home. We have nothing to fix," I said. "Nothing to talk about. Enjoy your dinner." I turned around. As I walked back toward the entrance, the restaurant parted in front of me. People avoided my eyes. Some looked at me with sympathy, some with fear, some with curiosity. My men fell into step behind me, silent. The hostess tried to say something. I did not hear it. When the glass doors closed behind me, the cool air of the Manhattan night hit my face. The streetlights shone on the black cars parked outside. Traffic moved slowly a block away. I kept walking down the sidewalk, away from the main entrance, away from the driver who was waiting in front. I needed air. I needed a corner without eyes on me. I turned into a side alley where the restaurant's lights did not reach. The noise faded a little. The smell of the city filled my lungs. Only then did I let myself breathe like a person and not like a ruler. My back hit the brick wall. I closed my eyes. I pressed my lips together so hard they hurt, because if I opened my mouth, I knew a sob would come out. I heard my men stop a respectful distance away. "Boss?" one of them called softly. "Do you need—" "Stay there," I said. My voice broke on the second word. I hated it. I hated the weakness in it. I hated that Ethan and Isabella had the power to put that crack in my tone. I tilted my head up and stared at the dark sky between the buildings. No stars, just the faint glow of the city. My hand came up to my chest. The dress felt too tight. My heart pounded against my palm, heavy and loud. I did not cry. I refused to let tears fall. but the pain inside me felt raw, simple, direct. There was no way to negotiate with it, no way to buy it, no way to intimidate it. I had killed for less than what they did to me tonight. The thought scared me, because for a moment I wanted to call my men closer. I wanted to give an order that would end this with one gesture. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Not my men. Too confident. Too calm. Not rushed. Not hesitant. I turned my head. It made sense that he was here. This alley was behind his own restaurant. He must have seen me walk out, or one of the staff had warned him something was wrong. Gabriel Cole stood at the end of the alley. His suit jacket was open. His tie was loose. His dark hair, a little longer than most men in our world preferred, fell over his forehead. The streetlight hit his face and showed the lines of age around his eyes, the slight shadow of a beard, the steady weight of his gaze. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with that quiet strength that did not need to prove itself. Tattoos climbed from under his shirt cuffs up his forearms. I knew they went further, under the fabric, over a body that carried years of fights and choices. Ethan's father. "Your men told me you came this way," he said softly. His voice did not echo. It sat in the space between us, low and rough, careful. I straightened from the wall. "I am fine," I said. "You can go back inside." He walked closer, but not too close. He kept a few steps between us, as if he knew I needed space. "I watched you walk out," he replied. "You are not fine." My jaw tightened. "I do not need your concern." He studied my face. His eyes were not cold like many men in our world. They held something else, something that saw more than the surface. "Maybe not," he said, "but you have it anyway." For some reason, that simple answer made the pressure in my chest rise again. I looked away. "You knew?" I asked quietly. "About them?" "No," he answered at once. There was no pause, no calculation. "Ethan is my son," he went on. "But he is not a boy anymore. I do not control his choices. I would never allow something like this. Not under my roof, not under my eyes. I found out tonight, like you." My hand slowly relaxed at my side. "I see," I said. "I am sorry," he added. "I do not need your apology either," I replied. "I know," he said. I expected him to explain, to make excuses for Ethan. That is what fathers in our world usually do. Protect their blood even when they are wrong. He did not. Instead, he took a small step closer and lowered his voice. "He disrespected you," Gabriel said. "He disrespected your position, your heart, and your family. There is no excuse for that." The simple statement landed inside me with more weight than any long speech. I looked at him again. "I came here tonight to forgive him," I said. "Can you believe that?" "Yes," Gabriel answered. "You don't even know what happened between us," I murmured. "I know enough about you," he said. "You do not give second chances easily. If you were here to forgive him, it means he already wasted one chance he should have protected." Something in his tone made my throat tighten again. I swallowed. "I feel pathetic," I admitted. His gaze softened. "You are many things, Sophia," he said. "Pathetic is not one of them." My eyes stung. "Do not be kind to me right now," I warned quietly. "I might do something I regret." His lips pressed together in a brief, almost sad smile. "I am not trying to be kind," he said. "I am telling you the truth. You walked in there with your head high. You did not scream. You did not throw anything. You did not use your power to destroy them in front of everyone, even though you could. That is strength. Or pride," I muttered. "Both," he replied. "And you are allowed to break down when you walk away from the crowd. That does not erase who you are." The way he said it, steady, sure, made something inside me loosen. Very slowly. A light breeze moved down the alley. My hair shifted over my shoulders. For the first time since I walked into that restaurant, My shoulders dropped a little. "Do you want me to leave?" he asked. "Say the word, and I am gone. You can have your night, your silence, your anger, whatever you need." I looked at him. He meant it. I could tell. There was no pressure in his eyes, no need to be the hero, no desire to insert himself into my pain for his own ego. He was just there. I realized I had never seen him like this before. We had met at business meetings, family events, negotiations, always across a table, always in suits and controlled words. Tonight, in this dark alley, he was just a man watching a woman who had been hurt. "What would you do if I said stay?" I asked. His chest rose once with a deep breath. "I would stand here and let you be angry," he said. "I would drive you home if you let me. I would make sure you are not alone if you do not want to be." My throat closed around a sudden lump. I hated needing anyone. I hated it, and at the same time, tonight, I did not want to go back to my empty penthouse with only my thoughts and the echo of their kiss in my head. "Drive me home," I said. He nodded, no triumph in his expression, only quiet acceptance. "Your men can follow us," he added, glancing behind me. "I am not trying to take you from your protection." I turned my head slightly. "Follow us in the car behind," I told my bodyguard. "No need to ride on my nerves." "Yes, boss," he said. Gabriel moved aside, lifting his arm in a small gesture. "After you." We walked out of the alley together. The city lights looked different now, sharper, harsher. A black car waited at the curb. Not the one I came in. His. He opened the door for me. I slid inside, the leather cold against my skin. The scent of his cologne lingered inside the car, mixed with something warm, something clean. He got in on the other side and closed the door with a soft click. For a moment, we sat in silence. The city moved outside the windows. Cars passed. People walked on the sidewalk, unaware of the small disaster that had just happened in my world. He started the engine and pulled away from the restaurant. I watched the building disappear in the rearview mirror. I saw the reflection of my face there too. No crown, no throne, no title. Just Sophia. I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. "Do you want music?" he asked. "No," I said. We drove in silence for a few blocks. The headlights of the car behind us, my car, stayed steady in the mirror. "You know," I said after a while, "if you want to defend him, this is your window." "I do not," Gabriel replied. "You are his father," I reminded him. "That does not mean I have to protect him from the consequences of his own choices," he said. "He is a man." He knew what he was doing. I turned my head to study his profile. "Most fathers in our world would try," I said. "I am not most fathers," he answered simply. His hands rested on the steering wheel, strong, steady. There were small scars on his fingers. Signs of old violence, old deals, old nights. "There is something you should know," he added after a pause. "Ethan's mother will not like this. Not only the betrayal part, the fact that I am here with you right now. She does not need to like anything about me," I said. His jaw tensed just a little. "She has influence over parts of the family. There will be tension." "I am used to tension," I replied. "I eat tension for breakfast." The corner of his mouth lifted. "There she is," he said softly. "The queen." I looked back out the window. "Right now I do not feel like a queen," I admitted. "I feel like a fool." "You trusted the wrong people," he said. "That does not make you a fool. It makes them cowards." We passed a red light turning green. The car moved smoothly through the intersection. "Why are you being so nice to me?" I asked. He glanced at me before looking back at the road. "Because someone should be," he said. "And because you deserve it." The answer hit me in a place I did not expect. A simple place. Not my ego, not my power. My heart. I looked down at my hands resting in my lap. My nails were perfect. My jewelry shone. On the outside, nothing was out of place. Inside, everything felt scattered. "How long have you known me, Gabriel?" I asked. "Years," he said. "At least 8 in business. Maybe more if I count the first time I saw you walk into a room and make everyone shut up without saying a word." I remembered that night. My father had introduced me to him then. I had been younger, hungry to prove I could handle the empire. Gabriel had watched me sign my first major agreement as queen. "What did you think of me back then?" I asked. He took a moment to answer. "That you were dangerous," he said. "Smart, untouchable. That you carried more weight on your shoulders than most men twice your age. And you did it without flinching." "Nothing about me as a woman?" I pressed, trying to distract myself from the ache in my chest. His throat moved in a small swallow. "That part was none of my business," he said. "You were young. My son's age. I kept my thoughts about you very controlled." Something in the way he said controlled stirred a new heat under my skin. I pushed it down. This was not the time. "And now?" I asked before I could stop myself. His fingers tightened slightly around the steering wheel. "Now I see a woman who walked into hell tonight and refused to burn," he said quietly. "And I respect that more than any deal we ever made." I did not know what to say to that. We drove the rest of the way in silence. When we reached my building, the doorman straightened as soon as he saw the car. My security cameras covered every angle of the entrance. Gabriel parked in front and turned off the engine. My car stopped behind us. My men waited for my signal. I opened the door, stepped out, and the cold air hit me again. "Thank you for the ride," I said. He got out too and walked around the car. He stopped in front of me, under the yellow light of the entrance. "Do you want me to walk you up?" he asked. "Or do you prefer to be alone?" I looked up at the tall glass building that held my penthouse, my home, full of expensive furniture, security systems, and silence. Every corner of that place would remind me of Ethan tonight, of Isabella, of my own stupidity. I closed my eyes for a second. "Walk me up," I said. "Of course," he replied. We walked through the doors together. The doorman lowered his head respectfully. "Good evening, Ms. Rossi. Mr. Cole," he said. "Good evening," I replied. The elevator doors opened. We stepped inside. The mirrored walls reflected us side by side. I pressed the button for the top floor. As the doors closed, I caught our reflection. Me, in my green dress, hair still perfect, eyes still sharp. Him, in his dark suit, tie loose, tattoos peeking out. We looked like a power couple from another life, not the betrayed woman and the father of the man who broke her. The elevator rose, floor numbers lighting up one by one. We did not speak. The silence was not heavy. It was full, but not uncomfortable. He did not try to touch me. He did not stare. When the doors opened on my floor, the familiar hallway stretched out in front of us. My men stayed by the elevator while I walked to my door with Gabriel. I unlocked it and pushed it open. The soft light sensors turned on, revealing the large living room, the floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city, the expensive rugs, the couch where Ethan had fallen asleep so many times. My stomach twisted. I stepped inside. Gabriel stayed at the threshold. "Thank you," I said again. "You can go now. I will be fine." He looked at me for a long moment. "You are strong enough to be fine," he said. "That does not mean you have to be." Something inside me cracked at that simple line. I turned my head away, my eyes burning again. "Do you want company?" he asked softly. "I will sit on that couch and say nothing if that is what you need. I will leave in 5 minutes if you change your mind. I will do whatever makes this night a little less heavy." My hand tightened on the edge of the door. Nobody talked to me like this. Not in this world. People either feared me, wanted something from me, or pretended to admire me. He was not doing any of that. He was just offering to stay. I stepped aside. "Come in," I said. He entered quietly. I closed the door behind him. For a moment, we just stood there, surrounded by the quiet luxury of my life. "Do you want a drink?" I asked. "Only if you do," he replied. "I do," I said. "Very much." I walked to the bar and poured myself a glass of whiskey. My hands were steadier now. I poured one for him too, and handed it over. Our fingers brushed. A small, warm jolt went through me. I ignored it. We sat on the couch with a respectful distance between us. The city lights painted soft shapes on the floor. I took a sip. The alcohol burned down my throat, then settled warm in my chest. "For the record," Gabriel said quietly, "you did not deserve what happened tonight. Not in any way." I stared at the glass in my hand. "I chose him," I said. "I trusted him. That was my mistake." "You chose to believe in someone," he answered. "That is not a crime. If anything, it means you are still capable of trust. That is rare in our world." I looked at him. "Seems foolish now," I said. He shook his head. "What he did says nothing about your value," he replied. "It only shows his weakness." The way he said it, so simple, so direct, made something fragile inside me settle. This man was supposed to be my enemy in some scenarios, a rival power, a boss of his own world. And yet here he was, sitting on my couch, talking to me like I was more than my title. We sat in silence after that. My building was high enough that the city noise sounded distant. The glass windows reflected our shapes back at us. I studied him when he turned his head slightly. His profile was strong, his jaw square. There were fine lines near his eyes, signs of years of work and worry. His hands resting on his knees looked rough, scarred, real. For the first time, I wondered what those hands would feel like if they held mine, not as a gesture of support, but as something else. The thought startled me. This is Ethan's father, I reminded myself. It did not matter. Tonight, the only person who had shown me real loyalty was this man sitting in my living room, not the boy who had promised me love. I finished my drink and set the glass down. "Thank you for staying," I said. "You did not have to." His eyes met mine. "I wanted to," he replied. The honesty in his tone made my pulse quicken for a brief moment. He checked his watch. "I should go," he said. "It is late." "Yes," I agreed. He stood. I followed. At the door, he turned to me one last time. "If you need anything," he said, "call me. Not as an ally, not as a business partner. Call me as a man who respects you." I held his gaze. "I do not need anyone," I said out of habit. "Maybe not," he replied. "But if you ever want someone, you know where to find me." He opened the door and stepped out. I watched him walk down the hallway toward the elevator. My men straightened as he approached, but they did not move. He nodded once to them. When the elevator doors closed behind him, the silence of the penthouse wrapped around me again. I leaned my back against the closed door and let out a long breath. Tonight, I lost a boyfriend and a sister in one single scene. Tonight, the son showed me who he really was, and his father showed me something I had not felt in a long time. Safety. I closed my eyes and let that realization sink in, heavy and confusing. What was worse? That I hated his son, or that I already felt safer next to him than I ever had with Ethan. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Isabella's lipstick on Ethan's mouth, the shock in his eyes when he realized I was standing there, and the silence in the restaurant when everyone waited to see if the Mafia queen would explode. But the worst part was remembering how Gabriel had looked at me afterward. Not with pity, not with fear, but with something I couldn't name. Something steady, something warm. When morning finally touched the windows of my penthouse, I still felt the weight of the night pressing on my chest. I got up, walked barefoot to the kitchen, and made coffee. My hands felt heavy, My body felt like it belonged to someone else. I leaned on the counter, staring at the steam rising from the cup, breathing in its warmth even though I knew I wouldn't drink it. My phone buzzed on the table. I didn't want to look. I already knew who it was. But I reached for it anyway. 2 messages, one from Ethan, one from Gabriel. My stomach tightened. I tapped on Ethan's first. Ethan. Sophia, we need to talk. Last night wasn't what it looked like. Please call me. I stared at the words for exactly 3 seconds, then hit delete. There was nothing he could say that would change what I had seen, what I had felt, what he had broken. Then I opened Gabriel's message. Gabriel, if you're awake, I'd like to talk. Nothing formal. Just honesty. My breath caught. The difference between them was so obvious it almost hurt. One demanded space he no longer had. The other offered support without asking for anything back. I typed before I could overthink. Me. Where? His reply came quickly. Gabriel, there's a discreet cafe on 5th. 20 minutes. Only if you're up for it. There was no pressure, no expectation, only choice. I put the phone down, walked to my room, changed into jeans and a black top, tied my hair up, and left before my guards could ask questions. The cafe on 5th was small, warm, quiet. Soft music played in the background, and the smell of coffee filled the air. Only a few people sat inside. Gabriel was at a corner table near the window, sleeves rolled up, tattoos visible on his forearms, dark hair a little messy like he hadn't slept much either. He stood when he saw me walking in. Sophia, he said softly. I nodded. Morning. We sat. His eyes searched mine, but not to judge. He was looking for something else, something closer to truth, maybe. I'll get straight to it, he said. I'm not here to defend Ethan. Good, I answered. He made his choices, wrong ones, and I won't soften the consequences for him. I swallowed once, slowly. Thank you, I said. It means more than you think. His jaw tightened slightly, like my pain affected him more than he wanted to show. There's something you need to know, he continued. Ethan and Isabella, they're together, officially. They didn't waste any time. I felt a sting, but not as sharp as expected. Maybe the numbness had already taken over. I expected it, I said. Last night made everything clear. Gabriel watched me closely. I also found out that people are already talking about it. Fast. Loud. Of course they were. Betraying the Mafia queen was the kind of scandal that fed the city for weeks. It doesn't matter, I said. Let them talk. It matters, he replied, his voice low. Not for your reputation, for your heart. I looked at him. No one ever spoke to me like that. Not as a weapon, not as a title, just as a woman. He took a breath. There's a charity gala next week, he said. All families will be there, including Ethan and Isabella. My stomach twisted. The thought of walking into a room where everyone would stare, whisper, judge. He leaned forward, voice steady. I don't want you facing that alone. I blinked. Are you offering to escort me? I'm offering to stand next to you, he corrected. If you want that. There was no calculation in his eyes, no ambition, no hidden agenda. He simply didn't want me to be humiliated again. I should have said no. I should have stayed neutral. But the truth was, I didn't want to be alone that night. Yes, I said. I want you there. Something shifted in his expression. Not a smile, but something softer. Then I'll pick you up. My heart beat once, too quickly. Why are you doing this? I asked. Because you deserved loyalty last night, he said, and you didn't get it. I felt something warm behind my ribs, something confusing. I looked down at the table. Is Ethan angry? He's furious, Gabriel said. But he's not angry about the betrayal. He's angry he lost control of the narrative. He wants to paint himself as the victim. Typical, I murmured. Gabriel nodded. If he contacts you again, tell me. I can handle Ethan, I said. I know, he replied. But handling everything alone isn't strength, it's exhaustion. I blinked slowly. He wasn't trying to take over. He wasn't trying to protect me out of obligation. He wasn't trying to win anything. He just cared. A dangerous realization. We talked for almost an hour. Not about business. Not about alliances. About me. About him. About how parents fail their children without meaning to. About why betrayal hurts more when it comes from family than enemies. When I stood to leave, Gabriel rose too. If you need anything today, he said, call me. I don't want to depend on anyone. He smirked, just a little. Just enough to soften the edges of his seriousness. You wouldn't be depending, he said. You'd be choosing. That's different. My breath caught. I turned to go, but he gently touched my elbow. Just 1 second. Warm. Respectful. Sophia, he said quietly, you didn't lose last night. You were betrayed. Those are not the same thing. That sentence stayed inside me long after I walked out. Outside, the cold air brushed my skin. I leaned against the building and let myself breathe. I didn't feel healed, but I didn't feel broken either. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Isabella. Isabella, please talk to me. I never wanted to hurt you. A lie. I turned the phone face down and didn't answer. I walked to my waiting car and got inside. As the driver pulled away, I looked at my reflection in the window. Still the Mafia queen. Still strong. Still standing. But something inside me had shifted. Maybe it was the way Gabriel looked at me. Maybe it was the way he listened. Maybe it was the way my chest warmed when he said he wanted to stand beside me. I closed my eyes and let the truth settle. Last night broke something in me. But this morning, something unexpected began to grow. And I wasn't sure if I should fear it, or let it bloom. I did not hear from Ethan for 3 days. Not directly, at least. My men told me he called the house line at my family's old estate. He sent messages I never opened. He stayed away from my building, because he was not stupid enough to show up without an invitation. Isabella sent more texts than him. I did not answer any of them. I kept my focus on work, meetings, numbers. Anything that did not involve thinking about my sister kissing my ex-boyfriend at our table. Every time my mind tried to go back to that scene, it slipped instead to another night, to a dark alley, to a man with tattoos on his hands, and a calm voice telling me I was allowed to be strong and hurt at the same time. Gabriel Cole. I did not look for him. He did not push himself into my days. He only kept one promise. He sent one message the morning before the gala. Gabriel, I will pick you up at 8. No heart. No nonsense. Just a clear line. I typed back, me. I'll be ready. My chest warmed in a way I did not want to analyze. On the night of the gala, I stood in front of my full-length mirror and watched a different version of myself appear. I wore a long black dress with a slit that moved when I walked. The fabric fit my body without mercy. My hair was straight, glossy, loose over my shoulders. My eyes were lined in dark makeup that made the green stand out. I did not want to look fragile. I did not want to look angry either. I wanted to look untouchable. My phone vibrated on the dressing table. Downstairs. Just that. I took one last look at myself, stepped into my heels, and walked out of the bedroom. 2 of my men waited near the elevator inside the penthouse. We have cars ready, boss, one of them said. Not tonight, I replied. We go with Cole. You follow behind. He nodded once. Yes, boss. The private elevator brought us down to the lobby. When the doors opened, I saw him through the glass. Gabriel stood near the entrance. He wore a black suit that fit his shoulders perfectly, white shirt open at the collar, no tie. His dark hair was brushed back, but one strand had already fallen forward. His tattoos were mostly hidden, but I knew they were there, under the fabric, on skin that had seen more than most people could handle. For a moment, He did not see me. He was talking quietly to one of his men, posture relaxed but alert. Then he turned. His eyes landed on me. His words stopped. He did not say anything for 2 seconds. He just looked. I stepped forward through the lobby, the sound of my heels echoing on the marble floor. My men stayed a few steps behind, like a dark shadow. He walked toward me, slow and controlled. "Sophia," he said. His voice was deeper than I remembered. "You look..." He stopped himself. I waited. "You look powerful," he finished. A small part of me wanted to hear a different word. Beautiful, stunning, irresistible. But powerful coming from him felt better than all of those. "You clean up well too," I said. The corner of his mouth twitched. "I try." He offered his arm. I placed my hand on it. His body was warm under the suit. Solid. Real. We walked outside together. His car waited at the curb. My car pulled up behind it as planned. He opened the door for me. I slid into the leather seat. A second later, he joined me on the other side. As the car pulled away, the city lights passed across his face. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked. "We can turn around." "I'm not hiding in my penthouse because my sister made a stupid choice," I said. "I am still Sophia Rossi." "You were always that," he replied. "Tonight you just remind them." "Is Ethan going to be there?" I asked. "Yes." "And Isabella?" "Yes." The names tasted strange now. Familiar and distant at the same time. "Good," I said. "I want them to see exactly how much they lost." He did not answer, but I saw his hand tighten once on his knee, then relax. "You understand what people will say about us," I added after a moment. "I understand," he said. "They will think this is revenge. A game. A move." "Isn't it?" I asked. He turned his head to look at me. "It is not revenge for me," he said. "I am not using you. I am not trying to provoke my son. I am here because you asked me to stand with you. I am doing exactly that." "And for me?" I asked quietly. "What do you think it is for me?" He studied my face for a long second. "I think," he said slowly, "it is you refusing to disappear. And maybe choosing someone who would not abandon you in the first storm." My chest tightened. I looked away, out the window, at the city I ruled and sometimes hated. "Am I using you?" I asked. "If you are," he said. "I am still here." I turned back to him. "That doesn't bother you?" I asked. "No," he answered. "Because I know who you are, Sophia. You do not use people you don't respect. You do not ask for help if you don't trust it." I held his gaze. "Trust," I repeated softly. "That's a big word in our world." "I don't say it often," he replied. The car slowed as we approached the hotel where the gala was being held. Outside, lights flashed. Cameras waited at a discreet distance. Luxury cars lined the entrance. My men's vehicle stayed behind us. Gabriel looked at me one more time before the car stopped. "Last chance," he said. "We can still disappear and drink in your living room instead." Despite everything, a small smile touched my lips. "Tempting," I admitted. "But no, we go in." He nodded once, like a soldier receiving a final order. "Then we go in," he said. The valet opened my door. The cold air hit my skin. I stepped out, the skirt of my dress falling around my legs. My chin remained high. People at the entrance turned their heads. I heard my name in whispers. Rossi. Mafia queen. She came. After what happened, Gabriel came around the car and joined me. He placed his hand on the small of my back, not possessive, just present. My body relaxed more than I wanted it to. We walked up the steps and into the hotel. Inside, the ballroom glowed with warm light. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Waiters moved between tables with glasses of champagne. Music played from a live band on a stage at the far end. I recognized almost every face in the room. Bosses, wives, sons, daughters, people who smiled in public and ordered quiet violence in private. Their smiles froze as they saw who I walked in with. Gabriel Cole. Not his son. A path opened without anyone needing to ask for it. I felt their eyes move over my dress, my hair, my hand resting on his arm. I felt their hunger for drama, their curiosity, their judgment. I did not give them anything. We reached our table. His name and mine were written on small cards beside each plate. Someone had planned this. Someone had expected us to arrive together. Gabriel saw my eyes narrow and leaned toward me. "This was not me," he murmured. "They did this on their own." "Of course they did," I said under my breath. "They love a show." He pulled my chair back for me. I sat. He took his seat beside me. Across the room I saw them. Ethan in a dark suit, hair styled perfectly, smile forced. Isabella in a pale dress that made her look fragile. They stood with a small group, but their eyes were fixed on us. Ethan's face changed when he saw my hand on his father's arm. Isabella's lips parted as if she had been slapped. I did not look away. Their choices brought us here. A waiter approached with champagne. I took a glass, more for the image than the drink. Gabriel spoke low, only for me. "They did not expect you to come with me," he said. "They should have," I replied. "You are the only man in their family who still has a spine." He huffed once, a small sound that could have been a laugh if the night were different. The first part of the evening was a blur of greetings and polite lies. People came to the table to say how nice it was to see me, to compliment my dress, to comment on charity and partnerships. Not one of them said what they were really thinking. I answered each smile with a measured one of my own. I spoke when necessary, and remained silent when I wanted to. Every now and then, my leg brushed Gabriel's under the table. Every time, a line of heat went up my body. I did not move away. During one of the speeches, while everyone pretended to listen, Ethan finally approached. I sensed him before I saw him. The shift in the air, the slight tension in Gabriel's shoulders, the way people nearby turned their bodies to watch. "Father," Ethan said. Gabriel did not stand. He turned his head slowly. "Ethan." Ethan's eyes moved to me. "Sophia." I took a sip of champagne and looked at him over the rim of the glass. "Is there a reason you are at my table?" I asked. "You lost the right to my attention." His jaw tightened. "We should talk," he said. "Privately." "There is nothing we need to talk about," I replied. "You made your decisions very openly. I prefer to reply the same way." He glanced at his father, then at our hands resting on the table. "You came with him?" he asked, voice low. "I came with a man who knows what loyalty means," I said. "That should answer your question." His eyes darkened. "Are you doing this to hurt me?" he demanded. Gabriel's voice cut in, calm but sharp. "Careful," he said. "You do not get to talk to her like that." Ethan turned to him. "You're my father." "And you are a man who betrayed the woman he claimed to love," Gabriel answered. "Do not try to twist this into something else." Ethan swallowed. "This is wrong," he said. "You and her. This is..." "Enough," I said. My tone made him stop. "You do not get to decide what is right for me," I continued. "You had your chance. You threw it away when you put your mouth on my sister in a restaurant where everyone could see." Some people nearby went quiet. I did not care. "You hurt me," I said. "But you do not own me. Not my time. Not my feelings. Not my future. Whatever I do from now on, whoever I stand beside, is none of your business." He looked between us, chest rising and falling too fast. "You're making a mistake," he said. "Leave," Gabriel told him. "Now." For a second, I thought Ethan might push it, that he might forget where he was and who was watching. Then he saw the way the room was looking at him. He stepped back. "This isn't over," he muttered. "For you, maybe," I said. "For me, it is." He turned and walked away, shoulders stiff. My heart pounded in my chest, but my face stayed calm. Gabriel's hand slid under the table and rested on my knee. Not high, not suggestive, just steady. "You handled that well," he said quietly. "I wanted to throw my drink at him," I admitted. "You did better," he replied. "You kept your crown and your dignity." His hand stayed there for a moment longer, warm against my skin, then moved away. A slow song started on the stage. Couples began to stand and move toward the dance floor. Gabriel turned to me. "Dance with me," he said. "People are already staring enough," I replied. "Then give them something worth talking about," he said, eyes holding mine. I hesitated for half a second. Then I stood. He rose too and offered his hand. I placed mine in it. He led me to the dance floor. The crowd parted again. We stopped in the center. He set one hand on my waist. The other held my hand. My free hand rested on his shoulder. The music wrapped around us. Simple. Slow. He guided me, firm but gentle. Our bodies were close but not pressed together. I could feel the heat of him through the fabric, his scent, the steady rhythm of his breathing. "Uncomfortable?" he asked. "No," I said. "Too comfortable." He smiled slightly. "You can step away if you want." I tightened my fingers around his shoulder. "I don't want to," I said. His eyes darkened for a second. His hand on my waist pressed just a little closer. We moved in slow turns. My dress brushed his legs. My hair brushed his hand when he shifted. I felt eyes on us from every side. Ethan and Isabella stood near the edge of the room. She held his arm, but her gaze was on us. His jaw was clenched. His fingers around her wrist were too tight. I did not look at them again. "You know what they're all thinking," I said to Gabriel. "That this is a show, that we're playing some game." "I do not care," he answered. "Do you?" I thought about it for a second. "No," I said. "I care more about how I feel right now." "How do you feel?" he asked. I could have lied. I could have given him something vague, and vague is safe. But vague was what got me here with Ethan. Vague promises, vague loyalty, vague love. So I chose something different. "I feel seen," I said. "Protected. Like I am not standing in this room alone." His hand tightened again. "Good," he said. "Because you are not." The song reached its middle. Our faces were close now, closer than they needed to be. I could see the small line near his mouth, the faint scar on his jaw, the way his eyes stayed on mine and did not drift lower without permission. I lifted my chin a little. His gaze dropped to my mouth for 1 second. My heart stumbled. He leaned in, slow, giving me time to move away. I did not. Our foreheads almost touched. His breath warmed my lips. The distance between us shrank until there was only one small space left. "Sophia," he murmured. "If I kiss you here, in front of all of them, there is no going back." "Do you want to go back?" I asked. His eyes locked on mine. "No," he said. The song slowed toward the end. People around us faded. Their colors, their voices, their secrets. For a brief moment, there was only him and me. His nose brushed mine. Every nerve in my body waited for his mouth. Then the music stopped. Applause rose around us. Lights shifted. We pulled back at the same time, both breathing a little harder than before. He did not look embarrassed. He did not pretend nothing happened. He just held my gaze, serious. "This is not pretending anymore," he said under his breath. "No," I agreed. "It is not." We walked off the dance floor side by side. My pulse was still racing. My body was still on edge. The rest of the night passed in fragments. More questions, more looks, more smiles that meant nothing. But one thing had changed. From the moment he placed his hand on my waist, from the moment we almost kissed in front of everyone, Something between us crossed a line. When the gala finally ended and we got back into his car, the silence felt different. He rested his hands on the wheel but did not start the engine yet. He turned to me. "If you tell me this was all for show," he said, "I'll respect that. I will go back to being nothing more than an ally." I held his eyes. "And if I tell you it was not for show?" I asked. His jaw clenched once. "Then I will ask you a very simple question," he said. "Do you want me only as a shield? Or do you want me as a man in your life?" The question hung between us. Heavy, clear. My past with Ethan. My blood tie to Isabella. The rumors, the power games. All of it waited in that second for my answer. I took a breath. "I don't know everything yet," I said. "But I know this." I leaned closer, slow, my eyes open, my hand reaching up to rest on the back of his neck. "I want you," I said. "And I don't want to pretend I don't." His eyes darkened in a way that had nothing to do with anger. He started the engine, gaze still on me. "Then we stop pretending," he said. The car pulled away from the hotel. My life had already changed the night I walked into that restaurant and saw my sister on my boyfriend's lips. Tonight, it changed again. Because I was no longer the woman begging for someone to choose me. I was the Mafia queen deciding who was worthy to stand at my side. And for the first time, I had a strong feeling that it was not going to be the son. It was going to be his father. But how far was I willing to go with that truth? And what would it cost when the entire world realized it too? When we entered the penthouse, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't cold. It was charged, warm, full of everything we had been holding back for days. I turned toward him, and Gabriel stepped closer, lifting one hand to gently brush a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers were warm, careful, almost hesitant. "Tell me to stop," he said quietly. "I won't," I whispered. He leaned in, giving me more than enough time to change my mind. I didn't. Our lips met in a slow, deliberate kiss, deepened by everything we hadn't said. I felt his hand settle lightly at my waist, steady and respectful, guiding me closer without rushing anything. My hands rose to his chest on instinct, feeling the solid calm of him beneath my fingers. There was nothing hurried about it. No desperation. No chaos. Just two people letting a moment finally happen. He kissed me again, softer this time, and my breath caught. The world outside the windows faded. The city noise dimmed. It felt like the first time in a long time that someone touched me with patience instead of expectation. "Are you sure?" he asked, his forehead resting against mine. "Yes," I said. "Stay with me tonight." He nodded once, as if sealing something important. He took my hand, lacing our fingers slowly, like he didn't want to miss a single second of what was building between us. The night didn't unfold with urgency. It unfolded with trust. We talked for a while. Quiet things, honest things, truths that felt easier to say in the dark. He held me close, and I let myself lean into him, feeling safe in a way that caught me off guard. Eventually, everything else blurred, and the moment belonged only to us. Private, tender, ours, and no one else's. That was enough. The rest of the world could wait. The next morning, I woke up to the feeling of someone tracing slow circles on my back. For a second, I didn't remember where I was. Then I felt the warmth at my side, the weight of an arm around my waist, the steady rhythm of a heartbeat under my cheek. Gabriel. His chest rose and fell beneath me. When I shifted, his hand slid from my back to my hip, holding me gently in place. "Morning," he said, voice low and rough with sleep. I lifted my head and looked at him. His hair was a mess. His eyes were still heavy. There was a small crease on his cheek from the pillow. No one had ever looked that solid in my bed. Relaxed. Completely present. "Morning," I answered. For once, the first thing I felt after a night with someone wasn't regret. It was calm. His gaze moved over my face slowly, as if he was checking if I was still there, still real. "We crossed the line," I said. His mouth curved a little. "We burned the line and threw away the ashes." I almost smiled. "Do you regret it?" I asked. "No," he said immediately. "Do you?" I thought about it honestly. I was the Mafia queen who had slept with the father of my ex-boyfriend, the man who stood on the other side of tables with me for years, the man who had seen me as a leader before he ever touched me as a woman. Every part of that sounded like trouble. And yet, lying there with his arm around me, I felt safer than I had in a long time. "No," I said. "I don't." He exhaled once, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. "Good," he said quietly, "because I'm not pretending this didn't happen." I slid my hand over his chest, feeling the strength under his skin. "What happens now?" I asked. "We keep going," he said. "Step by step. We deal with the noise when it comes." "The noise?" He looked at me like I already knew. "Ethan. Isabella. My family. Your family," he said. "Our people. Our enemies. They will have opinions." "They always do," I replied. He brushed a thumb over my cheekbone. "Let them talk," he said. "They didn't hold you last night. I did. They don't get to define what this is." My chest tightened at the simplicity of that. This. We didn't name it, but we both knew it was more than comfort. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He reached for it, glanced at the screen, and his jaw tensed just a little. "Ethan?" I asked. "No," he said. "His mother." "Of course." "Answer it," I said. He looked at me. "Are you sure?" "She will not stop," I replied. "You might as well see what she wants." He accepted the call and put the phone to his ear. "Yeah," he said. I watched his face as he listened. I couldn't hear her, but I could imagine her tone, sharp, controlling, angry. "No," he said after a moment. "I am not discussing this now." Pause. "I am aware of what's being said," he answered. "I don't need you to repeat it." Pause. "I walked in with her," he said simply. "And I would do it again." Heat spread through my chest. He listened for a few more seconds, then his expression hardened. "Be careful with how you speak about her," he said quietly. "You forget who you're talking about." I knew that tone. It was the one men used when they were one step away from ending an alliance. "No," he repeated. "You do not get a vote in who I stand next to. Not anymore." He ended the call and set the phone face down on the table. "Problem?" I asked. "She is not happy," he said. I guessed. "She thinks this is about revenge," he added, "about power, about embarrassing Ethan." "And what do you think?" I asked. "I think," he said slowly, eyes on mine, "this is about you and me, and everyone else can adjust." There were many things wrong with this situation, but that answer made it very hard to care. I sat up and stretched. The sheet slid down, and his gaze dropped for a second before he forced it back to my face. "Stay," he said. "I'll make coffee." "You cook now?" I asked. "I can handle a coffee machine and eggs," he replied. "Don't get used to more." He pressed a quick kiss to my shoulder before getting out of bed. I watched him walk across the room. Broad back, tattoos, strong legs, confidence in every movement. He didn't look like a man sneaking out after a mistake. He looked like he belonged there. The rest of the morning felt almost normal. He moved around my kitchen like he had done it before. I sat on a stool at the island, wearing one of his shirts that he had taken off last night. He cracked eggs, made toast, poured coffee. We ate together in quiet talk. About work, about schedules, about small, ordinary things that felt very different inside the world I lived in. There was a moment, when he reached over to wipe a crumb from my lower lip with his thumb, that I understood something dangerous. I could get used to this. Too easily. Around midday, he stood in the living room, adjusted his watch, and looked at me. "I have some meetings," he said. "I need to go pretend I'm not thinking about you in my bed." I lifted a brow. "Who says you're allowed to think about me while you're working?" "As if I can stop," he replied. He walked over, cupped my face in his hands, and kissed me. Slow, deep, leaving me slightly breathless. "Later," he said against my mouth. "Later," I repeated. He left. The door closed. Silence filled the penthouse again, but this time it felt different. Not empty. Just waiting. The first hit came 3 hours later. I was in my office reviewing numbers with one of my advisors when my phone buzzed with an incoming call from my sister, Isabella. I let it ring the first time. She called again, and again. Finally, I answered. "What?" I said. "Sophia," she burst out. "Is it true?" I leaned back in my chair. "What exactly do you mean?" I asked. "You and Gabriel," she said. "People are talking. They said you went to the gala with him, that you danced with him, that you—" "Which part bothers you more?" I cut in. "That I walked in with him? Or that I walked out with my head high while you hid behind my ex?" "That's not fair," she said, her voice breaking. "You know I didn't plan to fall in love with Ethan. It just happened." "It did not just happen," I said, tired of that sentence. "You chose it. You chose him. You chose to kiss him in public when you knew I was on my way. You chose to answer his messages behind my back. You chose every piece of this." She went quiet for a moment. "I'm your sister," she whispered. "You can't just throw me away." "You did that yourself," I replied. "But I'm not calling you to argue about the past. You called me. Why?" Her breathing shook on the line. I don't know," she said. I saw a photo. Someone sent it to me. You and Gabriel on the dance floor. His hand on your waist, your hand on his shoulder. Good. Let her see." "And?" I asked. "And he's Ethan's father," she said, voice tight. "It's wrong, Sophia." I took a slow breath. "What is wrong?" I said. "Is you trying to tell me who I can stand next to after you broke every line between us? What is wrong is you trying to claim some moral ground you lost the moment you chose my boyfriend over your blood?" "That's not what I'm doing," she said. "I'm worried. They're going to say things. They're going to use this against you." "They will talk no matter what I do," I replied. "At least now, when they talk, I know I am not alone in those rooms." "You were never alone," she argued. "You had me." I laughed once, short and humorless. "No, Isabella," I said. "I had the idea of you. The sister who should have been on my side. The reality was very different." She started crying softly. I could hear her trying to control it. "I miss you," she said. "You miss what I gave you," I answered. "Safety, status, protection. You didn't miss me when you were in that restaurant with him." Silence stretched between us. "Are you in love with him?" she asked suddenly. I knew she meant Gabriel. I thought of his hands on my skin, his voice in the dark, his body next to mine in the morning, the way he had stood up for me in front of his son, in front of his own family. "It's too soon to define anything," I said calmly. "But I know this. I feel safer with him than I have felt with anyone in a very long time." A small sob escaped her throat. "Ethan is going to lose it when he finds out," she said. "He already knows," I replied. "He saw us last night." She inhaled sharply. "What did he say?" "That I was doing it to hurt him," I said. "Which only proves he still believes everything revolves around him." I let out a slow breath. "Let me be very clear," I continued. "My life no longer includes him, or you. Whatever I decide with Gabriel is between him and me. You do not get a say. Not anymore." "Sophia." I hung up. It was either that, or say something I truly couldn't take back. My advisor shifted in the chair across from me, pretending he hadn't heard anything. I knew he had. Everyone listened in this world, even when they pretended they didn't. "Continue," I said. We worked for another hour, but my mind kept returning to the same truth. This wasn't going to stay private. By early evening, the second hit came. Ethan. He didn't call. He came to my building. My security notified me. "Do you want us to send him away?" One of my men asked through the intercom. I stared at the camera feed. He stood in the lobby, hands in his pockets, face set. Not smiling, not pretending. For a moment, memories tried to bring up old versions of him. The boy who had made me laugh. The man who had said he wanted a future. The one who had touched me gently once. Then I remembered him in that restaurant, his hand on my sister's waist, saying it just happened. "No," I said. "Bring him up." But he leaves his gun downstairs. "Yes, boss." A few minutes later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it myself. Ethan stood there in a black shirt and slacks, hair slightly messy, eyes tired. He looked like he hadn't slept much. "Can I come in?" he asked. "You have 30 minutes, I said. He walked in, looking around like he expected to find someone else there. "Looking for my father?" I asked. "He's not here." His jaw clenched. "So it's true," he said. "You and him." I closed the door. "What do you think true means?" I asked. "We went to a gala together. We danced. We left together. You saw all of that with your own eyes." He swallowed. "Did you sleep with him?" he demanded. My spine straightened. "You are not in a position to ask me that," I said, my voice turning cold. "You lost that right the moment you put your lips on my sister in public." He stepped closer. "You're doing this to punish me," he said. "To get back at me. You're using him." "If I wanted to punish you," I said quietly, "you would not be standing here breathing." He flinched. "I didn't come here to fight," he said. "I came here because this is insane. He is my father, Sophia. You were with me. We had something, I corrected. Past tense. You destroyed it. You don't get to act shocked that I moved on." "With him?" he repeated, disbelief in his voice. "Out of every man in this city, you chose my father?" "I chose the man who stood next to me when you humiliated me," I said. "The man who looked me in the eye and told me I deserved better. The man who did not hide, who did not lie, who did not ask me to make myself smaller so he could feel bigger." He winced like the words were blows. "He's using you," Ethan said. "He wants leverage. He wants to prove he can take something from me." "You really think everything is about you," I said. "It's impressive, in a pathetic way." I took a step toward him. "Listen carefully," I continued, my voice low. "Your father is not using me. If anything, I am the one who could use him. He knows that. He still chooses to stand with me. That is what makes the difference between you and him. He chooses me with full knowledge of the consequences." "Do you love him?" Ethan asked. The honesty of the question caught me off guard. I didn't answer. Not because I was unsure, but because I knew whatever I said would be twisted in his mind. "You don't even deny it," he said, hurt flashing over his features. "You moved on so fast." "You moved on before we even ended," I said. "You just forgot to tell me." He opened his mouth, then shut it again. "I made mistakes," he said. "I admit that. I was weak. I was selfish. But you're doing something worse. You're crossing lines that can't be uncrossed." "Maybe they were never supposed to be there," I said. He stared at me like he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. "Who are you right now?" he asked. "I'm the same person I always was," I replied. "You just never saw me clearly. Gabriel did." The pain in his eyes shifted into anger. "This won't end well," he said. "Not for you, not for him, not for any of us." That's no longer your concern, I answered. He shook his head, took a step back toward the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, he said, I did love you. I held his gaze. You loved the idea of being with the Mafia queen, I said. You loved what I gave you. If you had loved me, you would have protected me from your own impulses. He swallowed, hand on the door handle. And you think he will? He asked. Every day so far, I said. Yes. He opened the door and walked out. I closed it behind him and leaned my forehead against the cool wood for a moment. My heart was beating faster than I wanted to admit. Not because I doubted my choices, because I knew the war of whispers had truly started now. That night, when Gabriel came back to my penthouse, he didn't bring wine or gifts. He brought information. We sat on the couch, my legs stretched under me, his elbows on his knees. He looked more serious than I had seen him in a long time. What happened? I asked. He rubbed a hand over his face. I had a meeting today with 2 of my uncles and my cousin, he said, and a not-so-subtle message from my ex-wife. About us? I asked. About you, he corrected, and about what they did behind your back before the betrayal showed in that restaurant. A cold feeling slid down my spine. What are you talking about? I asked. He looked at me, eyes steady. I thought Ethan and Isabella's relationship started with weakness and bad decisions, he said. I was wrong. It started with something worse. My hands tightened on the cushion. Say it, I told him. He watched me for a second longer, as if making sure I was ready for what he was about to drop into my lap. I found out they were pushed together, he said quietly. Encouraged. Manipulated. Not just by their own desires, but by someone with a plan. Someone who wanted to damage you and shift the balance of power. My heartbeat picked up. Who? I asked. He hesitated, then answered. I need to show you the proof, he said. Messages, meetings, things I should have seen before. From who, Gabriel? I pressed. He held my gaze. From my ex, he said. From inside my own family. From people who wanted to use your heart as a weapon. The room felt smaller. The betrayal I thought I had already faced suddenly gained new layers, new faces, new reasons. I inhaled slowly, trying to keep the anger from clouding my thoughts. Bring me everything, I said. Every message, every name, every date. I will, he said. And then? He asked quietly. And then, I replied, we decide what to do with the people who thought they could play with us. I leaned back, eyes on his. One question hammered in my mind, stronger than the rest. If they had planned to hurt me from the start, what else were they capable of doing to destroy us now? I didn't speak for several seconds. Gabriel's words sat between us like a locked door that I wasn't ready to open. The idea that Isabella and Ethan betrayed me was already painful. But the idea that someone else had planned it, that they had been pushed into it, that someone wanted to break me emotionally for political gain, that was different. That was calculated. Dangerous. Personal. Show me, I said finally. Gabriel reached into his jacket and pulled out a small folder of printed screenshots, something his family still used for sensitive information. He placed it on the table between us. Before you read, he said quietly, you need to remember something. Their actions were still their choices. They weren't forced. They weren't victims, but they were influenced. By who? I asked again. His eyes lowered for a moment. My ex-wife, he said. Ethan's mother. My chest tightened. Why? I asked. He took a slow breath. Because she wanted leverage over you, he said. She believed if Ethan was tied to Isabella, your sister, not you, it would weaken your emotional stability and make you easier to manipulate. She thought family conflict would cloud your judgment. My jaw clenched. So she used her own son as bait, I said, and my sister as a tool. Yes, he confirmed. She sold it to Ethan as support. She told him you were too focused on your empire, that he deserved someone who would put him first. She told Isabella you were too cold, too distant, that Ethan needed affection you would never give. My stomach twisted. That's a lie, I said. I know, he replied. And they believed it? People believe whatever makes their desires look noble, he said. Your sister wanted him. Ethan wanted someone who made him feel superior. My ex wanted chaos and a shift of power. My fingers curled into the couch. Let me see. He handed me the folder. Inside, there were messages from months ago. His ex-wife telling Isabella, if he loves you more, you become the stronger Rossi sister. His ex-wife telling Ethan, she treats you like a toy. You need a woman who looks at you the way Isabella does. Invitations to private dinners. Encouragement to bond. Hints that being together would secure influence in both families. I read slowly, my pulse rising with every line. I felt sick. When I reached the last page, I closed the folder carefully and placed it beside me. You're sure this is authentic? I asked. He nodded once. I've verified everything myself. I stared at the wall for a long moment, trying to separate the pain into parts I could handle. Ethan and Isabella did this willingly, I said, but she planted the seed. She lit the match, he said. They carried the fire. A quiet, heavy anger spread through my body. Not the kind that explodes, but the kind that sharpens. Your ex wanted to destroy me, I said. She wanted to destabilize you, he corrected. She knows how powerful you are as long as your emotions stay centered. She thought heartbreak would cloud your decisions. She underestimated me. She always did, Gabriel replied. I looked at him. Why tell me all this now? He exhaled, his posture rigid. Because if we continue together, as partners, as lovers, as whatever this becomes, you need the full truth. I will not hide anything from you. Not my past, not my family, not the people who would hurt you. The honesty in his voice hit something deep inside me. Thank you, I said. He reached out and took my hand gently. You deserved to know, he said. And you deserved someone on your side who doesn't want anything from you. I squeezed his fingers. I want something from you, I said softly. He raised an eyebrow. What? Your loyalty, your presence, your honesty, and maybe your mouth again later. He froze, then lowered his head slightly, a quiet laugh leaving him. That, he said, I can give you. But his smile faded almost instantly. There's more. I straightened. There always is, I said. Tell me. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. The elders of my family heard the rumors, he said. Not just about Ethan and Isabella, about us. They want a meeting, soon. Why? To make sure this connection does not threaten business alliances. I narrowed my eyes. They want to control who I sleep with, I said. They want to control anything that scares them, he replied. A union between you and me would shift too much power, too fast. I stared at him. You're not afraid of that? I asked. No, he said. I'm afraid of something else. What? That they might try to force a wedge between us. My jaw tightened. I won't allow that. Neither will I, he promised. We stood in silence for a few seconds, the weight of our situation sinking deeper. Then he reached out and pulled me gently onto his lap, one hand on my thigh, the other on my back. Sophia, he said, his voice low and warm. Whatever war comes from this, we face it together. I slid my hands over his shoulders, feeling the solid heat of him beneath my palms. You really choose me? I asked, knowing what this means. He looked into my eyes without hesitation. I choose you, he said. Every version of you. His lips brushed mine. Not a kiss, not yet. Just a promise. I closed my eyes for a moment and breathed him in. But then, a wave of nausea hit me. not emotional. Physical. I pulled back suddenly and put a hand over my stomach. Gabriel's eyes widened. "Sophia? I'm fine," I said quickly. "It's just—" I stood up, but the room tilted slightly. He rose instantly and steadied me. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing," I insisted. "I didn't eat enough today." But even as I said it, a cold realization crept into my mind. Late. My cycle. How many days? I stepped away from him and walked toward the bathroom, my pulse suddenly out of control. "Sophia," Gabriel called, concern in his voice. "Talk to me." "I need a minute," I said. I closed the bathroom door behind me, leaned over the counter, and stared at my reflection. My heart hammered. My breath came too fast. I did the math again, and again, and again. My hands began to shake. No. Not now. Not in the middle of this chaos. Not when the entire world was watching my every move. But the truth pressed into my chest with terrifying clarity. There was a real possibility. A real, undeniable possibility. That I was pregnant. With Gabriel's child. I covered my mouth with my hand, trying to muffle the sound of my breathing. A baby. A future. A new life. A new tie between us that no one could break. But also, a complication powerful enough to split two families apart. He knocked once, softly. "Sophia," he said, voice low with worry. "Please open the door." I squeezed my eyes shut. How would I tell him? How would I even confirm it? And if it was true, what would this mean for us? For our world? For everything? I opened the door slowly. He stood there, eyes searching mine. "What's wrong?" he asked. "You're pale." I swallowed hard. "There's something I need to find out first," I said. "And then, I need to tell you something." His breath caught. "What is it?" he asked gently. I shook my head once. "Let me be sure before I say the words out loud." He stepped closer. "I'm here," he said. "Whatever it is, I'm here." I nodded, but my voice didn't come. Not yet, because the truth forming inside me was too big, too fragile, too life-changing. And I wasn't ready to speak it until I knew for certain. But one thought wouldn't leave my mind. If I'm pregnant, everything changes. Gabriel did not push me that night. He stayed. He didn't ask questions I wasn't ready to answer. He ordered food I barely touched. He pulled me onto the couch, wrapped an arm around me, and let me rest my head on his chest while we watched some meaningless show with the volume low. Every now and then, his hand slid through my hair or along my back, slow and reassuring. "Whatever it is," he said once, "you won't face it alone." I wanted to believe that. I already did. But I needed proof for something before I could say the words out loud. The next morning, before the sun even colored the sky, I slipped out of bed. Gabriel was still asleep, one arm over my pillow, taking up more space than any man had a right to. I stood there for a few seconds, watching him. Strong, steady, mine. My chest tightened with a mix of fear and hope I wasn't used to. I put on leggings, a hoodie, tied my hair up, and left the bedroom quietly. My men were in the living area, half alert, half pretending to ignore my private life. "I'm going out," I said. "At this hour?" one of them asked, surprised. "Yes," I replied. "Just me. 1 block. I'll be 5 minutes." They frowned, but they knew better than to argue. Outside, the street was almost empty. Only early commuters and a few delivery trucks. I walked to the nearest drugstore. The clerk didn't recognize me, or pretended not to. I grabbed what I needed, paid in cash, and walked back without looking around too much. When I returned to the penthouse, my men glanced at the small paper bag in my hand and then looked away again. Smart. I went straight to the bathroom and locked the door. My hands shook a little as I opened the box. I had done a lot of things in my life. Dangerous, calculated, heavy things. I had signed deals worth millions. I had given orders that changed entire families' futures. But staring at a small white stick on my bathroom counter felt like one of the hardest things I had ever done. I followed the instructions. Then I waited. Those few minutes felt longer than some negotiations I'd been in. My heart beat fast. My mind ran through every possibility. If it was negative, nothing changed, except the knowledge that I had panicked over nothing. If it was positive, everything changed. I forced myself to look. 2 lines, clear, unmistakable. I stared at them without breathing for a long time. Pregnant. I sat down on the edge of the bathtub and let the word echo in my head. Pregnant. Not just with anyone's child, with Gabriel's. A new life in the middle of broken loyalty, old battles, and shifting alliances. A new life that tied me to him in a way no rumor, no scandal, no dance floor ever could. I wasn't sure how long I sat there. When I finally stood, my legs felt weak, but my spine was straight. I opened the door and stepped out. Gabriel was there, leaning against the hallway wall, arms crossed over his chest, eyes on the floor. He looked up as soon as he heard the door. One look at my face and his whole expression changed. "Sophia," he said, pushing off the wall. "What is it?" I swallowed. My throat felt dry. "We need to talk," I said. He nodded once, serious. "Come." We walked to the living room. He sat on the couch, and I stayed standing for a moment, pacing once from one end of the rug to the other. He watched me. "This isn't just about your family," I said. "Or my sister. Or Ethan." "All right," he replied quietly. "Then what is it about?" I stopped pacing and faced him. "My life," I said. "Our lives, and something that might destroy or save both at the same time." He frowned slightly, a crease forming between his brows. "Sophia," he said, voice calm but more careful now. "You're starting to scare me." I took a breath. Then another. Then I said it. "I'm pregnant." The word hung in the air. He didn't speak. He didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on mine, searching for any sign that this was a joke or a test. When he saw none, his lips parted slightly. "How sure are you?" he asked. I held up the small stick I had in my hand. "Very." He stared at it for a moment, then looked back at me. His throat moved in a slow swallow. Force of habit made me speak first. "If this is too much," I said. "If it complicates your life, your family, your—" "Stop," he cut in, his voice low but firm. I froze. He stood and walked toward me, each step slow, deliberate. When he stopped in front of me, he didn't touch me right away. "Sophia," he said. "Look at me." I already was. "Is it mine?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "There's no one else." 100 emotions crossed his face in a few seconds. Shock, fear, realization, and then something I didn't expect. Soft joy. "You're pregnant," he repeated quietly, like he needed to hear it again from his own mouth. "Yes, with our child," he said. "Yes," I confirmed. His hand came up slowly and rested on my waist. The other moved to my stomach. There was nothing to feel yet, no change, no visible proof, but the way he touched me there made my chest ache. "You're sure this is what you want?" he asked. "Not what I want, not what anyone expects. You." I felt the truth rise from somewhere deep and simple inside me. "Yes," I said. "I want this. I didn't plan it, but I want it." He closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them again, they were wet. In all the years I'd known him, I'd never seen Gabriel Cole look like that. "It's not going to be easy," I added. "Our world isn't built for this. For families, for peace, for children." "Then we change it," he said. Just like that. No pause. "You can't just decide that overnight," I replied. "I can decide what kind of father I will be," he answered. I wasn't there enough when Ethan was growing up. I let his mother and uncles shape too much. I won't repeat that. His hand pressed a little more firmly against my stomach. I will protect you, he said, and this child. From my family. From yours. From anyone who thinks they can use this against us. His certainty shook something inside me. You're not angry? I asked softly. Angry, he repeated. You're carrying my child. The only thing I feel right now is scared and grateful. Scared? I asked. You? Yes, he admitted. Because for the first time in a long time, I want something I cannot replace if I lose it. My throat tightened. He took a breath. I need to ask you something, he said. My heart sped up. Ask, I replied. He stepped even closer, so close I could feel the warmth of his breath. Marry me, he said. The words hit me like a soft punch. I stared at him. This is not a proposal because of the pregnancy, he added quickly. I would have asked you anyway. This just made it more urgent. I want you as my wife, as my partner, as the mother of my child, not as a move on the board, not as a strategy, as my choice. My chest ached. You never pictured yourself married to the Mafia queen, I said. He smiled slightly. I pictured myself with a woman who scares me and makes me sleep better at the same time, he said. Turns out that's you. I let out a breath that sounded a little like a laugh and a sob mixed together. A marriage between us will unite two empires, I said. They will say we did it for power. Let them, he answered. We will know the truth. That this started in an alley, when I found you trying not to fall apart against a wall. And now? I asked. Now I'm asking if you'll let me stand next to you for the rest of your life, he said. Silence stretched between us for a heartbeat. Maybe two. I thought about everything. About Ethan. About Isabella. About his ex-wife. About the elders. About the rumors. About the baby growing inside me. About the way he held me in the bed, in the car, in those crowded rooms where everyone wanted something, and he wanted nothing but me. Yes, I said. His eyes widened slightly. Yes? He repeated. Yes, I said again. I'll marry you. The relief on his face was almost painful to watch. He lifted me off the floor in one quick move, his arms tight around me, spinning me once before setting me back down carefully. He kissed me, deep, full, with every feeling he didn't know how to say yet. When we pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. We'll tell them together, he said. Your family and mine? I asked. Yes. That's a lot of angry people in one room, I pointed out. You've faced worse, he replied. So have I. I smiled, small but real. Then let's do it. The meeting took place 2 days later in a neutral hotel conference room with high ceilings and a long glass table. Cold. Impersonal. Good. On my left, my most trusted men, 2 older advisors who had known my father, and 1 distant cousin who loved to gossip but never betrayed me. On Gabriel's right, 2 of his uncles, his cousin, and his ex-wife. She walked in late, dressed in expensive clothes and expensive anger. Her hair was perfect. Her expression was sharp. She took the chair as if the room belonged to her. Her eyes landed on me, then on Gabriel. I watched her read the space between us and not like what she saw. One of the elders started first. We are here, he said, because this relationship is causing noise, and noise is bad for business. I didn't look away. Gabriel didn't either. He sat with his hand resting close to mine under the table. Not touching, but close enough to remind me he was there. There is no noise, I said. There is only truth people don't know how to handle yet. His ex-wife leaned forward. The truth, she said, is that this is reckless. That you are using Gabriel to climb higher in our structure. That you are destabilizing everything we built. I almost laughed. Everything you built, I said. You mean lies, manipulation, pushing your son into my sister's arms to break me on purpose. Her eyes flashed. I did what was necessary to protect our family, she said. You endangered our family, Gabriel cut in, his voice calm but full of steel. You used Ethan as a pawn. You used Sophia's trust as a weapon. You created the very chaos you are now pretending to fear. One of the uncles lifted a hand, trying to keep the discussion controlled. Regardless of what happened in the past, he said, we must focus on now. The alliance between our families is delicate. A romantic bond between you two could either strengthen it or destroy it. Then accept that we choose to strengthen it, Gabriel replied. You speak like this is already decided, his uncle said. It is, Gabriel answered. We are together. And, I added, we are getting married. The room went quiet. Even my own men shifted, surprised. I hadn't told them either. His ex-wife's face lost all color, then flushed red. You can't be serious, she said. This is madness. It's our decision, I said. And there is more. Gabriel glanced at me, giving me the chance to back out. I didn't. I'm pregnant, I said, with his child. The silence that followed was heavy and full. Someone inhaled sharply. One of his uncles whispered something under his breath. My cousin's eyes widened, but she quickly lowered her gaze. His ex-wife stood up so fast her chair scraped. No, she said. No, this is not happening. It already is, Gabriel replied. This will ruin everything, she snapped. Do you have any idea what people will say? That you left your son's future for her? That you replaced your own family with... Be careful, Gabriel warned quietly. She stopped but didn't sit. You played games with our sons and daughters, I said, keeping my voice even. You pushed them like pieces on a board. You thought I would break. But what you broke was their respect for you, and you underestimated mine for myself. You are destroying Ethan, she said. He destroyed himself the moment he chose betrayal, I answered. My child is not his punishment. My child is my future. Our future. I looked around the table. If anyone here believes they can control who I share my bed and my life with, I continued, they can leave now. Our business deals will remain. They are written, signed, documented. But you will not sit at my table and try to manage my heart. Gabriel's hand slid over mine under the table and squeezed it. One of the older uncles spoke, tired and practical. We cannot force them apart, he said. They are not children. They lead empires. If we push, we risk war. If we accept, we gain stability through unity. Exactly, Gabriel said. This child, this marriage, is not a scandal. It is a bridge. His ex-wife sank back into her chair, breathing hard. I will not bless this, she said. We didn't ask, I replied. She shot me a look that held nothing but fury. But behind it, I saw something else. Fear. Fear of losing control. Good. After more back and forth, more warnings and cautious agreements, the meeting ended with something close to a cautious truce. They wouldn't celebrate us, but they wouldn't move against us. For now, that was enough. The last conversation I needed to have was with Isabella. I met her alone in a small family house outside the city where we used to spend summers as kids. She arrived before me. When I walked in, she stood up from the old couch immediately. She looked different, less polished, less certain. Her hair was tied back, her makeup lighter. Her eyes were already red, like she had cried before I even got there. Sophia, she said. I stopped a few steps away. This is neutral ground, I said. Respect it. She nodded quickly. We stood in silence for a moment, the memories of running through this house as children brushing against the reality of what we had become. I heard, she said finally, about you and Gabriel, about the baby. I watched her closely. Congratulations, she added. voice soft and honest. I mean it. I wasn't expecting that. Why? I asked. Because you look lighter, she said. Since him. Even when you're angry, it's different. And after everything I did, you deserve something that belongs to you alone. Tears filled her eyes. I know I can't fix it, she continued. What I did, with Ethan. I was selfish. I was weak. I let people whisper things in my ear about you. About him. I wanted his attention. I wanted to feel chosen. And I chose myself over you. Yes, I said. I am sorry, she whispered. Really? Not because you moved on. Not because you're with his father. Not because it backfired on me. I'm sorry because I broke the one thing we should have never touched. Trust, I said. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. I just didn't want you to think I didn't understand what I did. For a few seconds, anger rose again inside me. Then I saw us as children for a moment. Her following me around. Her copying my clothes. Her trying to be brave like me. I let out a breath. I am still angry, I said. And I don't think that will disappear overnight. I know, she replied. But I'm tired of carrying this weight, I added. You did something I will never forget. But I can choose what I do with that memory. She looked at me, waiting. I forgive you, I said slowly. But I don't trust you. Not yet. She nodded quickly, as if she had expected worse. If one day you earn that back, I continued, it will be because your actions matched your words for a long time, not because we share blood. Being my sister is no longer a shortcut. I understand, she said. We stood there for a moment longer. I'm not inviting you into my inner world again, I added. Not now. But I am not cutting you out completely either. A small, trembled smile touched her lips. For now, she said, that's more than I deserve. Maybe. But I wanted my child to know I had tried. Time moved. Faster than I expected. Slower than I wanted. Months later, my life looked the same from the outside and completely different from the inside. I was still the Mafia queen. I still signed contracts. I still controlled numbers, routes, and meetings. I still walked into rooms where men twice my age lowered their eyes when I passed. But now, when I came home, I was not alone. Gabriel's jacket was usually thrown over the back of one of my chairs. His watch sometimes sat on the kitchen counter. His presence filled the spaces that used to echo. And my body now clearly carried our child. One night, I stood on the balcony of the penthouse, one hand on the curve of my stomach, watching the city lights below. The door slid open behind me. You shouldn't be out here without a coat, Gabriel said. He stepped behind me and wrapped something warm around my shoulders. Then his arms circled me from behind, his hands settling over mine, over our baby. How are they? He asked. They, I repeated. You're convinced it's more than one now? I'm prepared for chaos, he said. Especially if they take after you. I smiled. They're strong, I said. Like you. Like us, he corrected. He pressed a kiss to the side of my neck, and my body relaxed into him automatically. Do you ever regret it? I asked suddenly. Choosing this? Me. Us. The baby. The war of whispers. No, he said simply. Do you? I thought about the betrayal, about the stares, about his ex-wife's face when we announced the truth, about my sister crying in that small house. Then I thought about his hand on my stomach, about the heartbeat we had heard on the monitor, about the way my men had looked more protective than ever when they found out I was pregnant. I shook my head. No, I said. Not for a second. He tightened his arms around me. Then we're exactly where we're supposed to be, he said. Even in this dangerous world? I asked. Especially in this dangerous world, he answered. Because now, when it looks at you, it sees me too. And it knows we will burn down anything that touches what's ours. I turned my head slightly and looked up at him. That sounded a little dramatic, I said. Then let me say it simpler, he replied. I love you. I love our child. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure you both feel safe. Those words. Simple, direct, unpolished, wrapped around parts of me nothing else ever reached. I turned fully in his arms and slid my hands up his chest, resting them on his shoulders. I love you too, I said, and I'm not afraid anymore. He kissed me then, slow and sure. The city spread out under us, our child between us, our future in our own hands. I had been betrayed by blood. I had been underestimated by enemies. I had been used as a piece on someone else's board. But in the end, I was exactly what I had always been. The woman who chose. The Mafia queen. The woman Gabriel loved. The mother of a child who would be born into a world we were already changing together. And for the first time in a long time, as I stood there with his arms around me and our baby growing inside me, I knew something with absolute certainty. My story didn't end with betrayal. It started again with love, and this time, it was mine.